Okay, picture this. Somewhere out there in a lab, there's a box. And inside that box, something is, well, it's learning. It's navigating a virtual world, and it's taking down monsters, all by itself. And no, this isn't science fiction. This is happening right now.
Let that sink in for a second. A clump of living human brain cells, grown in a lab, is playing one of the most iconic video games ever made.
So, right. The big question is, how? How is any of this even possible? This pushes us right to the edge of what we thought we knew about life, about intelligence, and what it even means to be a mind.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's meet the star of our show. The project's name is DishBrain, and it really represents a wild new frontier in computing, one that just completely blurs the line between biology and technology.
So what are we actually talking about here? Well, get this. It's a cluster of up to 800,000 living human neurons, grown right on top of a silicon chip. A few years back, this thing made headlines because it learned how to play Pong in just 5 minutes. Now, it's graduated to the complex 3D world of doom. And if that isn't mind-bending enough for you, they've also hooked it up to an AI chatbot to see how it influences the words it comes up with.
But how exactly does this work? I mean, how do you keep a brain alive in a box and then teach it to play video games? Well, the tech behind it is just as fascinating as the result.
So first, you got to know this word, organoid. This isn't a full, complete brain. Think of it more like a scaled-down, miniature version that's grown in a lab. Its job is to mimic the basic functions of the real thing. So it's kind of like a model brain that scientists can study. This little organoid lives inside a device called the CL1, and you can basically think of it as a super high-tech body in a box. It handles the whole shebang: food, waste removal, keeping the temperature just right, and connecting it all is an array of electrodes that lets the cells and the computer talk to each other. Now, this part is really important. These brain cells aren't taken from anyone. They're actually grown from donated skin cells that scientists reprogrammed to become neurons.
So how does it learn? This is where it gets really wild. It's kind of like Pavlov's dog, but for a dish of cells. The game world, everything happening in Doom, gets translated into electrical signals. So if an enemy pops up on the left side of the organoid gets a little zap. If the cells react the right way, say by firing the gun in the game, they get a reward, which is a nice, orderly, predictable electrical pattern. But if they mess up, they get punished with a chaotic, random blast of electrical noise. And it turns out brain cells are hardwired to seek order and avoid chaos, so they learn incredibly fast to do the right thing.
You know, this all sounds insanely complex. And you might be asking yourself, why? Why go through all this trouble when we have super powerful computer chips? Well, it turns out biology has a massive, massive advantage.
Energy. Just look at the difference here. It's absolutely staggering. Your brain, running with 86 billion neurons, uses about 20 watts of power. That's less than a dim light bulb. To get an AI to do something comparable, you'd need around 10 megawatts. That is enough to power a small town. To put it simply, biological computing is just unbelievably efficient.
And it's not just about saving on the power bill either. Remember, DishBrain learned Pong in 5 minutes. It took a leading AI at the time 90 minutes to do the same thing. That's because biological neurons don't just process information. They physically become the information. They restructure themselves, build new connections, and adapt on the fly. They learn by literally changing their own wiring, and that's something today's silicon chips just can't do.
Now, as sci-fi and futuristic as all this seems, the core idea behind it, creating a little artificial life form in a container to serve us, well, it's actually super old, like 16th century alchemy old.
Let me introduce you to the homunculus. It's Latin for little person. For centuries, alchemists dreamed of being able to grow a fully formed miniature human inside a glass flask. And this creature wasn't meant to be a person, not really. It was meant to be a powerful tool that could do things humans couldn't.
And when you put them side by side, wow, the parallels are kind of eerie, right? Both are artificially grown. Both are kept inside a special container. Both are created to be useful tools. And most importantly, both force us to ask the exact same uncomfortable question. Does this thing have consciousness? A soul? Is something actually in there?
And this is where things get really heavy. This is where the sci-fi experiment crashes into our reality. Because once you successfully create a learning, responding clump of brain cells, you have to start asking some deeply unsettling questions.
I mean, is there a subjective experience happening inside that dish?
And if they are conscious in some way,
Can they suffer? Is that punishment of chaotic electricity actually a form of pain? Even the scientists leading the project are wrestling with this. The chief scientific officer, Brett Gagan, actually said, "We almost view it as a kind of different form of life." That's a really powerful statement coming from the guy in charge.
So the official line from Cortical Labs is that yes, the organoids are sentient, which means they can sense and respond to things. But they argue that because they don't have all the complex structures of a real brain, they can't truly experience pain or suffering the way we would.
But, you have to ask, where's this go from here? Is this really just a simple cluster of cells, kind of like a jellyfish? Or is it something more? Because as this technology gets bigger, and they are planning entire data centers full of these things, we're going to have to deal with some huge issues, like biological AI labor and the morality of creating systems that we literally punish into learning for us. Ultimately, DishBrain pushes us right up against a question that, honestly, we just don't have an answer for yet. We are watching intelligence being built from the ground up, one neuron at a time. And it leaves us all with one final, huge thought. Where exactly does the line between a simple cell and a mind actually begin?